Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence. Welcome back to another video. I hope you're all doing well. And in today's episode, we're going to be taking a closer look at a fragrance that was released fairly recently. This one actually came out in 2019. This one is by the company Acqua di Parma, and it's called Osmanthus. So make sure to stay tuned. So like I said, this one came out last year in 2019. It's February of 2020 now that I'm reviewing it. And this product was sent to me by Max Aroma. So I do want to disclose that for my subscribers. I did not actually pay for this product. But one thing that I really like about the relationship that I have with the folks over at Max Aroma is I will ask them to send me certain products. So if I know it's something that I'm not going to like, chances are I'm not going to ask them to send it to me unless there's a really high demand for me to review it, but that's typically not the case. So this is one where I actually did visit them and I had the opportunity to put my nose on it, and this is actually quite a pleasant scent. Now, Osmanthus is one of these ingredients that I'm not inherently in love with. So you know, the note on its own can actually come across smelling rather bitter and quite strong, but of course when it's blended with other ingredients, as is the case with this one, there's like muskmallow and peony and neroli and cedarwood if I'm not mistaken, and so it is kind of cleaned up somewhat. But I know that for a lot of people, especially for a lot of men, they typically don't like to wear floral fragrances because they're not traditionally masculine, right? So they want something a bit more green, something maybe citrus heavy, something woodsy, not something leaning in floral territory, if you know what I mean. But this is one where, having had the opportunity to smell it and try it and wear it for several days, I actually really do enjoy this one. And I know Max Aroma is currently letting it go for a very good price. So I'm excited to tell you what I think of this fragrance. Let's take a quick look at the presentation. So the box is cylindrical in nature, and it's very similar to other Acqua di Parma presentations that perhaps you've seen in the past. It just has the crest here on the front. It is eau de parfum strength, and this is the 100 ml bottle. The inside reveals a podium in which the bottle rests, and the bottom of the box has a serial number printed in gold right below the UPC. Now the bottle for this one is the same as other Acqua di Parma fragrances that you've perhaps seen in the past. The cap for this fragrance does not click into place, but it is a snug fit. You can pick it up from the cap. And the distribution on the atomizer is very wide. Let's continue with the smell. So as soon as this fragrance opens up, you are definitely going to get this floral presence about it. Now, Osmanthus, like I said earlier on in the review, is one of those ingredients where I kind of felt two ways about it. I don't know if I particularly love it. I know with a lot of ingredients like iris or rose or heliotrope, I actually do quite enjoy them, especially when they're mixed with other ingredients. It's only like those sharp, heady florals that I really don't enjoy. I don't like freesia too much. I'm not a huge fan of ylang-ylang, but this one is actually done in a very pleasant way. And I think it's the fact that it's used in combination with this neroli note, which gives it this very bright, fresh, citrusy appeal. So I think initially, although I did get the presence of that floral ingredient, I also got this overtone of freshness, which I think is going to work rather well for a lot of people. I think there's also something, and I remember reading a study a while back that says, you know, guys that wear floral ingredients, they can actually come across smelling a bit more sensual to other people. And it's sort of like the self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you're confident enough to wear a floral ingredient, then you know that sort of conveys or exudes or exemplifies confidence, right? And so you're confident in yourself that you'll wear something that is not typically or traditionally worn by men at large. So anyways, just something to keep in mind. But for this one, the Osmanthus note is actually very, very pleasant. And the fact that it's compounded with this note of peony right underneath it is also equally interesting. Now, I think there will be a small percentage of people who will smell this and say, you know what, yeah, I could see people liking it, but it's not necessarily my taste. But I don't think it's overtly floral in this fact that, or in the sense that it's going to come across to be rather feminine for a lot of people. I do think that it's sort of balanced out with the woodsy notes and the citrus notes, and so it's kind of a nice combination of all of these things. So what kind of person do I imagine wearing this one? Obviously, this is just a recommendation, but anybody can wear this one. But I can see this one being worn by a very confident gentleman, especially one who is going out on a very romantic date, perhaps somebody who's not trying too hard to give a very good first impression, somebody who's a bit more laid back and a bit more nonchalant, and somebody who's not afraid to be himself and who's not afraid to open up and show perhaps some of his more vulnerable sides. And I think that that's kind of what they were going for with this fragrance. Of course, they wanted a really good interpretation of the note of Osmanthus, and Acqua di Parma is a company that I really enjoy, and I actually own a few of them. And I think that whenever it does come to creating perhaps a fragrance that is fashioned or modeled around a particular ingredient, they do a pretty good job. But I think in the case of this one, they did an exceptional job. I think that Osmanthus is one of these ingredients, as I stated earlier, that can be sort of hit or miss for me. And especially if it's utilized in like a feminine perfume, a woman's perfume, it's something that although I might speak highly of it and I could probably appreciate and enjoy it when other people are wearing it, it might not necessarily be something that I would recommend for others, and it certainly won't be something that I would wear myself, but I can totally see myself wearing this. I like how it does come across smelling elegant. There is a sort of understated feel where it's not trying too hard. It's a bit relaxed, it's a bit polished, but in the longevity department, it actually does pretty well. And so this is something that cannot be said about some of the more citrus dominant or citrus oriented fragrances from the brand. But yeah, this one is actually quite nice. Keeping in mind, however, that a lot of people will smell it and you might get that floral introduction in the opening and they won't necessarily give it a chance to dry down. This is one where I do urge you, if you have the opportunity to smell it, if you have the opportunity to try it, I think you will be pleasantly surprised by it if you give it at least 15 to 20 minutes to really settle into your skin. And that's also to say that depending on your diet and your pH levels and your skin chemistry, I'm sure you've heard the spiel already, try it on your skin and see how it works for you. But I actually really enjoy this one, and this is one that I will take out of my studio. I will bring it home, and I can see myself wearing this one to work a lot more, in addition to the few days that I have already spent wearing it at work. Now, nobody gave me a compliment on it or anything like that. Nobody said, wow, Steven, you smell amazing, you smell fantastic. Actually, nobody made a comment on it, period. But you know what? I enjoyed wearing it while I was wearing it, and for that reason, I will continue to wear it. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. Now, first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell of the fragrance, I know I've tried Osmanthus and many other fragrances out there, but this is one that does it in a very nice way. Quite polished, quite unisex. I can see a very confident man wearing this. And like I said, it has this more laid back approach, and it's actually cut by some of the other more, I guess you can say, masculine leaning ingredients in here so that it doesn't smell completely feminine. Like I said, Osmanthus is also one of these ingredients that's a little hard to get along with, especially when used in a high concentration or it's not balanced out with other ingredients. And I don't sense much of that going on in here. I think it's actually very well tied into the other ingredients that are used in this fragrance. So I enjoy this one. I think overall smell is very pleasant. However, keep in mind that if you have an aversion to florals at any percentage, this is probably one that you want to skip over, but the overall smell is very pleasant to my nose. Longevity on this one was great. I got about 7 to 8 hours from it. Now, the projection on this one was also pretty good. It did really well for the first hour and a half to 2 hours. I don't think it ever radiated beyond an arm's length. So this is one that was probably a little bit softer. There isn't a ton of citrus in there. There is neroli, as I stated earlier. So had there been more citrus in the opening, I think it would have been a little bit louder, maybe pushing out a little bit past an arm's length. But this is one that kind of created an intimate bubble. But don't get me wrong, it wasn't a skin scent or anything like that. And it didn't become a skin scent until about like the 6.5 to 7 hour mark. So you are going to get really good longevity from this one. It's not a beast mode fragrance, but it will certainly get you through your workday. Versatility on this one I think is very good. I don't know if it's marketed for men or women. I actually don't believe in designations like that. I think anybody should wear whatever they want, but I do find this one to be perfectly unisex if you're looking at it from a more traditional standpoint. I can see the Osmanthus working really well on a woman, but I can see a really confident man wearing this one as well. I think this is one that will perhaps gear towards somebody who's a little bit older, a little bit more mature and set in their way, as opposed to like a high school student or something like that. I think that there are far better options, especially if you want to appeal to your peers, right? And I don't think there's going to be too many people who are between the ages of, say, 13 and 18 who will smell this and think it's fantastic, right? I think somebody with a bit more of a, hate to use the phrase a refined nose, but I think somebody who's perhaps really into fragrances and they're into experiencing variety with their fragrances, I think they're going to be more likely to appreciate this one versus somebody who's still in high school or like an early college student or something like that. And I think in terms of formal scenarios, I think this one can be worn on a date night just because, like I said, there's a little bit of like that sensual component to it. And I can also see this one being worn dressed up as well. Perhaps I wouldn't wear this one casually, but I think that for the price that you can find it for at maxaroma.com, you can afford to wear this one on a casual basis because you're not paying retail for it. Last up, in terms of the presentation, I quite do like Acqua di Parma's presentation. I think it's very classic. They've been around for such a long time. They know what does well on the market, and they have a lot of fans who completely adore the brand. So my final verdict on this one is, if you're into purchasing a floral fragrance for yourself, but you don't want to do iris or rose or some of these other ingredients that we see surfacing in a lot of fragrances, especially as of late, and you want to perhaps explore a floral ingredient that is not as common, that ingredient being the note of Osmanthus, and you want something done in a very nice way, in a very appealing, very approachable way, I would certainly recommend that you go out there and try this fragrance. But you guys know what I say, try before you buy, let your nose determine what is right for you, and you be the final judge, right? So these videos are to be used as a form of just providing you information and guidance, and now you know what I think of it, and so go ahead and make that decision for yourself. So there you have it. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was my review of Osmanthus by Acqua di Parma. If you, owner, have tried this fragrance, I would love to know what you think. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. Also, I'm curious to know, do you have any favorite floral ingredients? Let me know by leaving a comment down below. Also, if you are new to this channel and you took something of value from this video, I would love it if you could support this channel by subscribing to it. It's easy and it's free. All you need to do is click that red subscribe button in the corner. I will really appreciate it. And in the meantime, also make sure to click on the notification bell next to it. This way, whenever I do upload future fragrance-related content, it will get delivered straight to your feed. You never need to worry about missing any of my future uploads. And of course, that includes fragrance reviews just like this, top 10 videos, giveaways, unboxings, special guests, interviews, and a whole lot more. Thanks again for watching. I love you all, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.